Hi there, everybody. Hugh here again with you. Good to be with you. Appreciate everybody tuning in these last several days, and appreciate the new subscribers and everybody mostly tuning in, listening to the prison writing I did while I was incarcerated at Leavenworth Federal Prison back between 2009 and 2011. So I've had a good time reading some of that stuff to you. It's been an interesting thing to revisit it myself, and I hadn't looked at any of that stuff in years, and so it does kind of put me right back there, and I'm seeing those spaces and those people and the atmosphere. It's pretty vivid, and bringing it right back to me, but that's okay. And so I'm going to do something a little different tonight, though, and I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to talk about some real things as far as uh, particularly the digital currencies that aided in these high yield investment programs, including mine, that ultimately caused me to go to prison and all. And so I'm going to talk about some of these. It's interesting that a lot of folks don't know that this world existed at all, despite, a world of cryptocurrency these days. This was the predecessor to cryptocurrency, these various digital currencies that you know people used for years until they were basically all shut down and varying things happened to the people involved. But we're going to look at it. My idea here, hopefully, is to share a couple of screens with you, and I'll be walking you through this stuff. I'm going to do my best to edit this together in the best way I can. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to start with well, first let me say uh, I quit my job back in 2005, summer of 2005, to go tour with the Woodbox Gang. We were, had been playing for some years. And our agent booked us a big long tour, and we decided to take that step. And quitting our day jobs and our security there. So that was in the summer of 2005. I was a screen printer and worked for a really good place for a number of years. And so um, I quit that job and I just bought a house, and really hoping everything was going to go well. And so we do some traveling and touring for a few months and all, but a few months in, money was kind of not coming in, of course, near as much as it was, when I had a steady job. So I had an amount of time, off time, when we weren't traveling, and so, like a typical dum dum, I just like, well, let me go online here. This is, 2000, late 2005. See if there's some kind of maybe online remote stuff or something I can do to make some extra money. This is before that world really thrived and existed as it does now in a lot of ways. But I searched, how to make money online and stuff, and you find all kinds of goofy uh, ebooks and things. People all trying to make a buck by telling you how you can make a buck and selling some kind of ebook or some kind of goofy thing. And but then I also found the world of high yield investment programs, and so that was a popular thing, and particularly auto surfs, where basically you scrolled through ads after investing some amount of money between like $10 and $5,000, and you were supposed to get a return in a few days or a couple of weeks, for a crazy high amount, like over 100%. And so I found this thing called 12 Daily Pro, and that was the most popular one at the time. And it was an auto surf, sunk a few bucks into it. And so I'm going to pull up Wikipedia here. I'm just going to use Wikipedia to discuss all this stuff. So you can take that for what it is, but at least it's coming from the same source. So, um, okay, that's the AI about 12 Daily Pro. Let's see here. And you trust the AI as well as you want as well, but there's not a particular one for 12 Daily Pro, but there is one for the owner of it, Sherry Johnson. And so uh, the administrator or the investment auto serve 12 daily pro. So Ponzi scheme is, what it was, and basically 12 daily pro was a version of what is commonly known as a paid auto serve program, where investors deposited money ranging from $6 to $6,000 per account, received an extremely high profit, 144% within a short period, 12 days. That's the 12 daily pro. So I think I sunk 100 or 200 bucks into this. I thought, well, this ought to go well, and steady income for a couple weeks, or a couple weeks at a time, and just you know rotate it and revolve it and keep it going. So according to this, Miss Johnson was extremely successful in attracting investors and raised approximately 50 million in less than 9 months, which that is kind of crazy. And so eventually the SEC got involved, and according to this, as of September 20 or 2006, Sherry Johnson now faces criminal and civil suits. I mean, it's going back 20 years. She no longer resides in Charlotte, North Carolina. Her current whereabouts are unknown. So I don't know what happened with that. So I think I made a couple $100, lost a couple $100 in the end. So, but it introduced me to this world of high yield investment programs. And so the main one that was the most popular at the time was Egold. So Egold was digital currency that was anonymous. You could use any name for your account you wanted. If you made a transaction and then wanted to reverse it, you could not do that. There was no reversing the transaction, and it was allegedly backed by the value of real gold. And so this was the main one I used. Now, keep in mind, back in 2006, uh, the ability to do things was kind of a challenge, you know. And so it was right around the time, it was in the fall of 2006 that I think it was George W. Bush then would have passed like the anti-gambling law that prohibited a lot of most all Americans from using online gambling sites for poker and for casino games and stuff like that. That was in October, and so everything was just kind of a challenge to do. But I do recall buying e-gold from some Russian and some Chinese exchanges, and I had to send them Western Union payments. So I went down to the Kroger, to the customer service. That was a place I used Western Union, and there was a couple other spots, and I would send these payments to China and to Russia and other places, a bunch. And that was how you were able to get e-gold. It wasn't very easy. You couldn't just log on to somewhere and buy it too easily, and so eGold was founded by Douglas Jackson, a radiation oncologist, and Barry Downey, an attorney, in 1996. So the pair originally backed eGold with gold coins stored in a safe deposit box in Melbourne, Florida. But so that started in 96, and with the nature of something that can't be reversed, is completely anonymous, or as they call it, pseudo-anonymous. Criminals are going to use a thing like that, and they did for money laundering and other horrific things like child pornography and just really really unpleasant stuff. Now, the founders, it doesn't mean that they condone any of that, but they made something that was easy to do, and this is 2006, and the internet had really only been in most households for just about 10 years at that time, give or take. With Windows 95 coming out and Internet Explorer brought millions of more people than just the nerds on the internet. And so you could also hack eGold. You could hack an eGold account, or you could do some kind of phishing scheme and have somebody send you, uh, you know, thinking you're sending it to the right person and you're not, or they could just hack into your password. The security wasn't great, so really good hackers could do that, and they just take everything you had, and there was nothing you could do about it. There was no customer service to deal with any of that. And so basically in 2006, they got shut down, and they got, let's see here. They were the founders, including Dr. Jackson, were looking at 20 years in prison apiece. But none of them, they didn't get any of that. They got like probation. And according to the judge here in this Wikipedia deal, said Dr. Jackson has suffered, will continue to suffer, and may never be successful with Egold. And basically, that's why shouldn't do any prison time. It's just this was bad and it's never going to work out. So therefore, suffered enough, which I didn't know that was an option, which whatever, you know. Um, apparently, the founder, Dr. Douglas Jackson, was on a podcast like 5 years ago talking about this stuff. I have not listened to it. I'm kind of curious, but you know, I might check that out. So anyway, that was the big one, eGold. So there were times where I had tens or maybe even $100,000 in an eGold account, and so I think gold was somewhere between like 550 and $600 an ounce back then. That's a whole lot more now, but it would fluctuate. So that $100,000 would go to $90,000 overnight, or and back up to 95, and back up to 102, and so really, you know, bonkers on me to keep that kind of money in there and doing that. I couldn't control what was coming in, and how to deal with all that. Very dumb. So the next big one that came about around the same time was called e-bullion. Now, e-bullion was kind of advertised itself as the safer, more secure e-gold, but it's still backed by the price of gold. And so it had a feature that was like a little calculator, and you would pay like $25, and they would mail you this little calculator uh, deal that when you logged on to the eBullion site to get into your account, it would send you a code, and you would plug that code into your little calculator, and it would spit out another code, and then you plug that in to your account there, so you could get into your account on your computer. Now, very much like an authenticator app for that you can get for certain sites that require that kind of two-way security like that. But this is an early version. It was literally a physical device that you plugged stuff in. Well, what in my program, I was just using eGold, and people were like, "We like eBullion better. Can you take that? I'll send you money if you'll take eBullion." Like, okay, fine, I'll check into all this. And so set up an eBullion account. I didn't buy the little calculator. Like, I don't want to spend $25 on that, but people were sending me thousands and thousands of dollars, and I just, it was kind of a day-to-day thing. I was just sort of holding it together. Well, one day my eBullion account did get hacked, and it had like $60,000 in it, and that was gone. And so that was a really bad day. So I reached out to eBullion and said, "Hey, I had this amount of money in my eBullion account. Any way you can help me get it back?" Well, later that day, I got a phone call from a very angry fella, and I am not certain if it was the founder or not, but I know this is a relatively small operation. But he was a very angry man at me for having that amount of money in an unsecured e-bullion account. I never even bothered to buy the $25 little calculator deal, and so he just read me the riot act. He's like, you know, I have better things to do than chasing down your money. You won't even buy. We'll just send you it for free. We don't even care. I just have better things to do with my time. And he was just berating me on and on. Well, and I said, I'm sorry. I'm just kind of rolling with it here, and calmed him down enough. And he actually did. He was able to chase down and recover funds back, which I didn't think was going to happen. And they sent me a free calculator deal, because they're making money per transaction, making a bunch of money. And then there's this this yahoo out there, just not knowing what I'm doing, and getting things taken and all, and not reaching out before. Like, I was probably among the top, you know, percent of their customers, which were many thousands. But really troubling story with e-bullion is that the founder, uh, his wife was stabbed to death, you know, and the owner was found guilty for at least having her murdered. She was murdered in a parking lot. And this was in 2008 after my whole program had shut down and everything. And I remember reading this, thinking, that's insane. And he's now on death row, for uh, hiring someone to kill his wife. It's a really tragic story and just awful, And so when I was being investigated, the investigators said, okay, we got the Egold accounts. They gave us access, but we don't have any access to the e-bullion accounts because um, there's a murder going on, an investigation going on, and they're not dealing with stuff like what I was doing. Like they weren't cooperating in that regard because they had a bigger deal to deal with, which is understandable. Now, that being said, it's not like there was hundreds of thousands of dollars that didn't get accounted for. People who were victims who had money in it, they came forward, whether they used whatever currency, and so they could show their receipts. Whether they got it from the back end of e-billion or not was irrelevant, So, but they couldn't get those records and all, and it was just an interesting timing. Of the horrible, tragic story. And so those two were like the main ones. Pardon me a moment here. I need a drink. Um, excuse me. But there was the safe one. The safe one was called Liberty Reserve, and it really kind of operated very much similar to something like PayPal or Venmo. Pretty straight ahead, but it was the very transparent. The nice one had nothing to do with gold or anything. It was just a payment processor, and it was the nice, safe one. So some people sent me money with Liberty Reserve. I had obviously an account. It wasn't a great majority, But when I got out of prison, I kind of, as you do, kind of curious about this stuff, and I looked it up to see what anything had happened with anybody. And so I saw, okay, the founder of e-bullion. Well, I knew he was accused of that, but after trials and stuff on death row, like yikes. uh, and then Egold, where it's like they got probation and stuff, which I thought was kind of wild, but so it goes. And so Liberty Reserve, I figured, heck, might still be going on. So then I looked it up, and lo and behold, it turned into the largest. I'm sorry, let me take a look here. And so this is the Wikipedia page about Liberty Reserve. It's a Costa Rica-based centralized digital currency service that billed itself as the oldest, safest, and most popular payment processor, serving millions all around the world, which, as it did, the PayPal for the unbanked. And so I guess the founder had some trouble way back before, but Costa Rican authorities became aware of Liberty Reserve in 2009 and informed the business it needed a license to operate as a money transmitting business. And so in 2011, Liberty Reserve was linked to attempts to sell thousands of stolen Australian bank account numbers and British bank cards. Criminals use these things. You know, they're, they're means to do stuff that are not under the same scrutiny as traditional banks or the FDIC, or things that were put in place almost 100 years ago so that people wouldn't get ripped off. And so obviously criminals use stuff like this. Oh, sorry. And 2013 seizure. Uh, so this was going on. This was after I got out of prison and see all this. And so in January 2016, Arthur Badovsky, the founder, pleaded guilty to one count of conspiring to commit money laundering. May 6, 2016. Badovsky was sentenced to 20 years in prison, so he went um, for the 20 years, you know. But this stuff had been going on as far as a criminal investigation for almost 9 years at that point. And I believe I saw somewhere that it was the largest money laundering operation ever in history. Okay, from the very top here. Liberty Reserve is alleged to have been used to launder more than 6 billion in criminal proceeds during its history. Well, that's not the thing I was thinking, but I saw another article that said I mean, it was just that was kind of huge. So, all shocking things, and all of this stuff came to an end. So, therefore, obviously, we don't have any digital currencies that are anonymous that can freely flow from person to person without any oversight. Obviously, I'm just kidding because we absolutely have tons and tons more of that with cryptocurrency, some of which uh, are blatantly and obviously total Ponzi schemes in the sense that the price of that cryptocurrency goes up when more people buy it. The price of it goes down when more people sell it. And nobody's pretending it's anything any different. Now, that being said, I'm not an anti crypto guy. I think there are certain things that have a utility that actually can make the world operate in a better way, in a more transparent way, because that is one thing you can see the transactions, and so there are certain ones, not many, like maybe less than 1% of all the cryptocurrencies out there are actually not completely useless and worthless, but that less than 1% is an amount. It is dozens, I would say, that are creating technology that actually does make the world better, and I do look forward to them being implemented into in the systems that many of which are very much out of date and need an overhaul, and that is a good solution, I think, and so with an amount of regulation that keeps things, you know, together and have some rules and some laws that keep bad actors at least um, slowed way down, because right now it's still kind of wild. This whole world of what I was involved with 20 years ago was the predecessor to all that. It was wild, bonkers, and a lot of people didn't really know about it at all. It wasn't hardly on the news. It wasn't on CNBC and all this kind of stuff. I mean, maybe a big story would pop up or something, but it wasn't in everybody's kind of world the way things are now. So um, I hope you kind of enjoyed me kind of going over. I'm doing this sort of off the cuff, and I mean, I'm looking at the Wikipedia pages and reading, but I'm certainly not reading anything that I'm telling to you other than what I'm reading. Anyway, uh, I hope you enjoyed this. Something a little different. This world did exist out there, and it was destructive. Uh, I'm living proof, and but got through it, and okay. And I haven't really seen. I've not seen many of anyone else in that world from the mid aughts who, I mean, maybe they're just smarter than me, but who was involved in much of that, talking about it on YouTube or on anywhere. And also, if any of this makes any sense to you, or you have any connection, or maybe you're old enough or around it, any memory of any of this, please let me know in the comments. And you know, it just kind of feels like an underground world that probably should be explored, especially because of the many parallels currently. So anyhow, I will talk to you more again with some more things, with some more reading of the prison writing I did, some more songs and different things like that. Hope you enjoyed this, and I will catch you all later. And if you do enjoy it, please subscribe. It really means a lot to me. And I will talk to you again soon. Thanks.